questions. Just talk to them about how it's a win business and the fun is in the winning. And we all know that. You know, they've been trained that way. They understand that. But I told them it doesn't change the fact that I'm incredibly proud of them and how they fought in the second half of this ball game. Through a lot of adversity and gave themselves a chance to win against an incredibly talented football team. And that's something we never could have done in years past. We never would have been able to rally around a freshman quarterback and give him a chance to make some plays and make this thing a really good game against a great team. So, again, that's what I'm proud of. I'm proud of Chase, quite frankly. Like, I thought he went in there and battled his butt off, made some plays, kept things alive, made some throws. And so, again, with a lot of adversity thrown at us during the week, in the game from an injury standpoint, and some external factors as well that didn't go our way tonight. We did not win the game, as you all know, but I'm proud of this football team. With that, I'll open up for any questions.
Mike, JT finished out that drive in the first half. Was it something you guys noticed the way he reacted in the locker room during half, or did he say something, or?
I'm really not sure. I was with the defensive staff. By the time I got in with the offensive staff, somebody let me know he was in with the doctors. So I don't know. I do know that what was told to me is, yes, he finished the drive, but he didn't remember the drive or the score. And if you remember 2 plays before we scored, 3 plays before we scored, there was a targeting foul thrown and then removed. And all we talk about is player safety in this game. And what I was told is the defender turned his helmet into him. And to me, that is a very clear definition. So, yeah, we played the second half with a true freshman quarterback who played his butt off for us. And a defense that stood up, got takeaways, and kept fighting. And special teams that really won the day for us.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that, because that first quarter, it looked like things were really going SMU's way. The score could have been 28-7, something. But the defense always seemed to find a way there to get a stop and get a key stop there to keep you in it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we talked before about how hot we've been in the first quarter going into Tulane. And the truth is, SMU had been even hotter. I can't remember exactly what the number was, but it was extraordinary. And for our defense to keep us in that game, for special teams to get that blocked punt, turns it into a touchdown. You know, you're sitting in a pretty good place where you give your offense a chance to regroup and get their footing. The hard part of that was our defense played so many plays in that first quarter. And even in the first half, I think we had 52 plays on the sheet and 46 officially at halftime. And that was because of the offensive inefficiencies, as well as a couple times we couldn't get off the field on third down. But we got to go back to starting faster offensively. We can't go 3 and out on our first possession. We can't throw a pick on the first play of our second one. And again, that's not to place blame or anything like that. It was a tip ball. It was the right play. The defense made a great play. But it's just, we've got to start faster for our football team if we want to have success against a great team.
I want to ask you about the offense, because the first couple drives, it looked like SMU was blowing me off the ball, and y'all were going nowhere. And then from that point on, I mean, there was some sweeps and some orbit motions, and you were moving tight ends around and receivers around, and it always felt like you broke out everything and then were able to push them back. What did you kind of see from your staff tonight, kind of pulling that together?
You know, it's interesting because, you know, last week you asked a question about both lines, and as I went back and looked at it, I really thought our offensive line did not get handled very, very badly by Tulane. I thought they played really well after watching the film. You know, tonight to start the game, we were not holding any blocks. We were not getting the job done for the quarterback. It was 1 or 2 people, and then we settled down. And some of that stuff that you mentioned allowed us to settle down and you can get cleaner looks. But ultimately, it comes down to me versus you. And, like, can I do my 111? Because when we were doing that in that first half, we moved the ball and we had some success. So that really became the challenge. I do think Marcus Tuiasosopo did a great job having a great plan and great answers. So, yeah, I mean, I think everything you mentioned, I think, really played into it. But you're right. At those first few plays, you were like, oh, like 2 of the 3, I felt like the pressure was there now.
And then you mentioned a little bit penalties. Most penalties on a Rice football team in over a decade tonight.
Sure felt like it. gotta say it, I can't say it. Yeah, I mean, that was hard, man. Never felt that way. The way I felt tonight. Not since I coached like high school in some small town.
And then I wanted to ask you about your defense. You got Sean in here. He was down at one point. Gabe was down at one point. You were out of bodies, and still were able to hold SMU to basically a field goal in the final 20, 25 minutes.
It's the way those guys fought. That's what it comes down to. I mean, think about that for a second. Like, we didn't have Gabe after the first series in the third quarter, right? Lost Conti during the week. JoJo Jean was down coming into the game. Those guys just fought together and for each other. And that's a beautiful thing. It's really cool. And he could talk more about what was said in the huddle. He could talk more about the 6 solo tackles he had when he was coming up and hitting running backs in the backfield. I don't know if he had to tackle on a receiver. He was having to make plays in the run game all night long. And they did a good job covering his man.
And then we talked several weeks ago about margin. You got 3 games left. You got to win 2 to go bowling again. You addressed that at all with the team tonight? Or
Yeah,
what's
no,
on your mind?
we talked about UTSA. You know how we're going to take this, man. It's going to be one at a time. It's not going to be about margin. It's not going to be about anything. It's going to be about, like, I mean, they all can see big picture. They're smart kids. They go to Rice. But for us, we're going to talk about the things that matter and preparing the right way. And what a big win it would be next week in the Alamo Dome if we can have a great week of practice and find a way to get that thing done.
And I got one more on your quarterbacks. Obviously, I want to get your take on Chase and what he did, but the decision to go with Shoki under center, kind of what factored into that and how did that work?
Can you ask Chase instead of me? Look, it's the short yardage snap is really unique. And when you haven't got a whole lot of reps on it, it's different. Like if you just imagine the center's butt's about 9 inches off the ground, you're low. It's almost like a magician in terms of the ball handling in the backfield and seeding the ball to make sure one back goes through before you hand it. And quite frankly, Chase just hasn't had enough time on task with that. Shoki has because he played quarterback for us in games last year. And so that's why we chose to do that. Again, it's not something Chase can't do by any stretch of the imagination. It's just that he hasn't had enough time on task.
And then on Chase, you touched on it a little bit in your opening comments. But going into the season, you're like, oh, man, I like this kid, but I hope he doesn't have to play. And then you need him to lead your team in a big game, and he does a whole lot of things right.
Yeah, and again, the reason I said that about Chase is because he was a freshman, right? Because he's a little wet behind the ears. He got here in January. So you don't ever want those dudes to play the most important position in football, especially in the West Coast volume offense. So it was certainly not by design tonight to have to lead us to try to win the game. This is the 3rd game he's played in this year, you know, and he's made a difference every game he's come in. He's affected the game positively. So that's what we expect him to do. But tonight the burden was strapped on his back, and certainly proud of how he answered the call. And I'm proud of, after maybe a series of the offense wondering what's going on, like, I don't know if they knew that JT wasn't coming back out. I didn't find out until we left the locker room, going back on the field after halftime. So there might have been a little shock and awe there, and once they all settled in, they started rallying with it and realizing that he could lead our offense. And so, for that true freshman over there, I thought he did a great job. Really proud of him.
Coach,
Coach, what did you see from Dean tonight? Just it seemed like you were able to rely
Fabulous.
on him a lot.
Fabulous. 11 yards of carry. Had a screen callback that was a big explosive play, a game-changing play. 50 or 60 yards, probably 60 yards, I think, snapped from about the -40. 55? Yeah. Huge. I mean, and just battle all night long. And he's become our short yardage goal line back with Daly being down and trust him completely with everything.
And then that's just the one other thing I was going to ask was you kept saying that years past you wouldn't have been able to overcome such adversity. How does that change? Is that the players you have? Is it the culture you built? How does that change?
I think the answer is yes to all those things. I think we're a much better team. We're a much deeper team. But I just think back to any time we lost a quarterback, like, it didn't go well. You know, I can't think of any instance where it did. I guess La Tech in 2021 we made a quarterback change, but we didn't lose a quarterback. And I don't know if we've ever had a chance with the ball in our hand on the last possession, certainly to go beat a team like SMU that's got so many talented players, and we'll be a member of the ACC next year.
Coach, what does it say about your team where so much was against you going, injuries and against a good team, all phases of the game, and yet you're one possession away from taking the lead at the end of the game?
Yeah, I think it just shows how much they're fighting for each other. Like we talked in pregame about the power of love and belief. And those are two powerful things. And when you really love the people around you, when you really believe in what you're doing and believe in yourself and believe in your teammates, you're a force to be reckoned with. And that's what they are, and that's the way they're playing. They gave us a chance tonight.